Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is FOB Fresh Off the Boat and another episode of I Am FOB telling the immigrant story. Tonight, we're meeting Tanesia. Tanesia, how are you?
I am fabulous.
Fantastic. Where are you from, Tanesia? Where were you born?
I was born in Nassau, Bahamas, and raised by my Italian American mom. And my father was kind of lost in the cause, but I had a very wonderful upbringing with my father's side of the family, who was, very involved in my life. And I spent a lot of time with them. I lived with my grandmother for years and years until my mom got her feet under control with being able to take care of us. So, more or less, I think I have like both backgrounds, an American background and a Bahamian background. So, I find that it creates for a lot of relatability, for where I'm at now. But go on with your next question. I talk a lot.
How old were you when you moved to America?
I was about 23 years old.
And why did you choose America?
Well, I chose America because it was just a hop, skip, and a jump away from the Bahamas. In addition to my mom was American, so I had status here, and it just seemed like a easier route to take. I am from Nassau, Bahamas back then, which was a long time ago. We had a very new college and a very new university, and accolades from the university wasn't really, top notch. So a lot of Bahamians, back when I was in college, they left the Bahamas mostly to go to America or like the Caribbean to UE, like Jamaica, Barbados, wherever UE was, so that's why I left. But I originally went to UE in Jamaica, and I got a little sidetracked, having a lot of fun in Jamaica, But I ended up in Florida because my twin sister was here already, and it was just an easier conversion.
Was it what was the, if any, what were the kind of things that you found a little bit difficult to get used to, and how did you eventually reconcile it?
I have to be honest, I don't know that I found much of anything difficult other than being away from mom and having her there to take care of every need that we had because she was very involved and she was a very present person. But apart from that, I don't know that it was a major adjustment. It was more like, oh my God, I'm free. Oh my gosh, there's so much stuff going on in Florida. Like it's so big and there's so many things to do and so many places to go and so many ethnicities. And I don't know, it was just very exciting for me.
So, what do you do?
Well, I'm an occupational therapist at a skilled nursing facility and an acute rehab hospital, and I specialize in aquatic therapy.
Okay. And how long have you been doing that?
I've been doing it a very long time, like 20 years.
Would you recommend somebody young to get into it?
Absolutely. I think, I have and I know people that go to work every day and they're like not thrilled and to be doing what they do, but every day I go to work, I'm happy to be going to work. It's super challenging. I never know what kind of patient I'm getting. I never know what difficulties they're gonna have or, how they're gonna feel blessed that they've made it through some traumatic event. So every day is like an adventure, and certainly getting to see people improve and progress and meet goals and get to a point where they're no longer injured or diseased and they're able to leave a hospital setting and go home and take care of themselves and their families and that kind of stuff. It's extremely rewarding, so I actually can't see myself doing anything else.
If what part of the Bahamian culture would you really like the world to sample? Because you know, if they sampled this part of Bahamian culture, they would fall in love with the Bahamians, or at least they would get to understand completely what Bahamians are about.
When I first came to this country, it was a very, I know you asked something very similar, but I think like initially, but I think my major adjustment was when I started working, and I would go to work every morning and I would try to have conversations with people, and I'm a morning person, and I would say, "Good morning, how are you?" And that's how you greet people, just even on side of the street where I'm from. But people would either ignore me or look at me like something was wrong with me, like what's up with this chick, she's trying, like I'm the weird person, you know. So I think that from my culture, you know, I think I have a very inviting culture. I think I have a very kind culture, a very accepting culture, and that just wants to relate. And I think that was my major adjustment being in this country that I didn't realize until you just asked that question, you know. But I think that's what my culture has to offer, you know. And I think if the world revolved in that respect, that it would be a hell of a lot better, you know, being inviting and kind and communicative and, you know, relatable and that kind of stuff. I think that's what makes the world spin, and we wouldn't have so much turmoil, you know.
What part of the Bahamian culture that you can access right here in Florida that if you didn't have it, life would not be so nice?
I think, I don't know that it's necessarily a culture, but I find being in South Florida to be very relatable to being back home, because obviously the weather, because the beach is a hop, skip, and jump away, you know, and it I mean, meeting a lot of Caribbean people and that kind of stuff, all of it makes me feel like at home. You know, it's very comfortable for me here because all of those things are very, very similar to home.
Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
In 5 to 10 years, I have a 13-year-old. In 5 to 10 years, my kid would probably be off to college. And I've always had this thing, like when I graduated from college, I wanted to join the Peace Corps. And I think when my kid is off to college, and if I'm still single, because I'm single, you know, but if I am still, I've always wanted to volunteer. I've always wanted to go to like remote countries, like third world countries, and offer my services as an OT and just teach, you know, people how to take care of their injured and their people that are diseased and that kind of stuff, to help them to be more independent and take care of themselves. So, you know, yeah, I would definitely see myself doing that.
What advice would you give now that you've been through this immigrant journey and you're here? What advice would you give to a young Tanisha who is just arriving today?
I would give the advice of, you know, when you come over, everything is not as, when I initially came here, I think that I know that I wasn't as sociable, and I kind of got, it was almost like a culture shock in regards of me being prepared to engage with people, but people not being able to engage with me because the culture was different. But I think that, you know, trying to understand the culture versus being like, oh, they have some sort of almost beef with me. I don't think it was a thing for, hey, they have something because I'm an island person or because of me personally. I think it's just a cultural thing. So to be maybe more understanding of where you're at and the people that you're around, so that you can, then you can find more space to relate to them on their level. So, you know, I don't think that they're the problem or or I'm the problem being an immigrant. I think that the problem is just almost like the difference in culture. So realizing that there's this zone that you almost have to get past, and once you get past that, I think that there's some beautiful people here, you know, just like
Fantastic.
everywhere else.
Fantastic. Tanisha, we really thank you for sharing your story with us. We know it's touched some people because just listening to it, a lot of it resonated with me. And we really appreciate you for sharing your story and being so open and, sharing so deeply and freely about, your ideas and what you went through and so on and your experience and how you've grown. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us once again for another episode of I Am FOB. FOB fresh off the boat, bringing the immigrant story to you live and direct to enrich your life and inspire you. Inspiring immigrants telling inspiring stories about success and how to live your best life. Stay tuned until next time. I am FOB.